The existential crisis of stupidity. Have you ever found yourself gazing out at the world, observing the tapestry of human decisions, the grand theater of societal actions, and felt a profound, unsettling question bubble to the surface? How can we, as a species seemingly endowed with reason, so often stumble into patterns of illogical, self-defeating, even collectively destructive behavior? We are quick to assign blame to overt malice, to shadowy conspiracies, to the grand villains of our narratives. But what if the most pervasive, the most insidious, and perhaps the most consistently underestimated force shaping our collective destiny is something far more mundane, yet infinitely more dangerous? What if it is, in its raw and unadorned form, human stupidity? Welcome. Today we embark on a journey not merely to define or ridicule, but to understand, through the critical and often challenging lens of existential psychology, a phenomenon that touches every life and every society. We draw inspiration from thinkers who dared to confront uncomfortable truths, such as the historian Carlo Cipolla, who provocatively mapped the laws of this very human affliction. But our exploration will be rooted in the existential implications. How does this widespread capacity for unthinking action impact our search for meaning, our experience of freedom, and the very fabric of our existence? It is tempting and often comforting to believe that the architects of our societal woes are few, easily identifiable, operating with deliberate intent. Yet the unsettling reality, as Cipolla pointed out, is that the tendency towards actions that are detrimental to others and often to oneself, actions born not of calculated evil, but of a profound lack of foresight or comprehension, is not confined to any particular demographic. It transcends education, social standing, wealth, and power. It is, in essence, a universal human potential, a shadow that walks alongside our capacity for brilliance and compassion. This isn't about intellectual capacity in the narrow sense of an IQ score. From an existential viewpoint, we are speaking of a mode of being, a persistent refusal to engage with the complexities of reality, an abdication of the responsibility that comes with critical thought, a retreat into the deceptive comfort of unexamined action. The core of this phenomenon, the reason it is so dangerous, lies in its irrationality. Actions that inflict harm, that create loss for others, and yield no genuine benefit, perhaps even inflict loss upon the actor, defy simple logic. They are unpredictable, chaotic, and because of this, uniquely difficult to defend against. Why, then, would we so often choose this path of unthinking? Why would a species capable of such intricate reasoning and profound creativity so frequently succumb to behaviors that undermine its own well-being? Existential psychology compels us to look inward, to confront the anxieties that lie at the heart of the human condition. Could it be that some forms of what we might call stupidity are in fact sophisticated, albeit unconscious defense mechanisms? Are we, at times, fleeing from the anxiety of freedom, that dizzying, terrifying awareness that we are ultimately responsible for our choices, for forging our own path, for creating our own meaning in a universe that offers no inherent script? To think critically, to question, to analyze, these are not easy tasks. They demand courage, the courage to face uncertainty, to navigate ambiguity, to admit the possibility of error, and to bear the weight of independent judgment. Is it not perhaps existentially less taxing to adopt prefabricated beliefs, to follow the established currents of the crowd, to surrender our autonomy for the illusion of safety and belonging, even if that path leads inexorably towards detrimental outcomes. The unthinking life, the life lived on autopilot, can appear to offer a sanctuary from the vertigo of infinite possibilities and the profound burden of self-creation. But this perceived sanctuary is often a cage, and the price of this avoidance is steep. When our lives are dictated by unexamined assumptions, by the unthinking adoption of societal norms, or by the impulsive reactions of the moment, we drift inexorably towards an inauthentic existence. This is not a moral judgment cast upon individuals, but rather an observation of a pervasive human pattern. The individual whose actions consistently result in negative consequences, both for themselves and for those around them, without any discernible rational gain, may be an individual who has failed to authentically engage with their own deepest values, their own unique potential for imbuing their life with meaning. If our choices consistently lead to suffering and loss, are we not, in a very real existential sense, sabotaging the very essence of a meaningful life? Are we not, individually and collectively, contributing to a pervasive sense of the absurd? The innate human drive to find and create meaning is fundamental to our psychological well-being. Stupidity, characterized by its irrationality and its capacity for self-harm and harm to others, stands as a direct and formidable obstacle to this most human of quests. And yet, despite its profound impact, we chronically, almost willfully, underestimate the destructive power of this unthinking force. Why this collective blind spot? Perhaps the truth is too unsettling to confront directly. It is far easier to conceptualize an enemy with a coherent plan, a villain whose motives we can at least attempt to understand, than it is to grapple with the chaotic, senseless, and often random destruction wrought by widespread, unthinking behavior. The ramifications are stark, both societally and personally. When this mode of unthinking being infiltrates the echelons of power, in our political institutions, our corporations, our educational systems, the consequences are magnified exponentially. Decisions made without foresight, devoid of critical analysis, and bereft of any genuine understanding of their long-term impact become the seeds of societal decay. They erode freedoms, foster division, and contribute to a widespread crisis of trust and meaning. And on a deeply personal level, the constant interaction with or subjection to the actions of profoundly unthinking individuals, those who consistently inflict harm without reason, can be incredibly draining. It fosters frustration, erodes our own well-being, and can actively sabotage our attempts to live a purposeful and fulfilling life. We become entangled in a web of irrationality that stifles growth and diminishes joy. So, what is the existential response to this pervasive challenge? Are we simply to resign ourselves to a world increasingly shaped by the unthinking? Are we doomed to be perpetually navigating the fallout of this hidden pandemic? Existential psychology, while unflinching in its acknowledgement of these harsh realities, also champions the indomitable power of human agency and the transformative potential of awareness. The first, most crucial step is the courage to confront our own inherent potential for unthinking, for that seductive existential avoidance. This is not about self-flagellation, but honest self-examination. It means cultivating the courage to be, as Paul Tillich termed it, the courage to affirm our existence by thinking for ourselves, by making conscious choices. Even those choices are difficult, unpopular, or lead us into uncomfortable territory. It demands that we elevate critical thinking from a mere academic exercise to an existential imperative. This involves a commitment to questioning assumptions, both our own and those foisted upon us, to actively seeking out diverse perspectives, and to embracing the profound responsibility that accompanies every choice we make. Can we, as individuals and as a collective, foster a culture that genuinely values deep inquiry over comfortable conformity? A society that rewards thoughtful, considered action over impulsive, knee-jerk reaction. The task is monumental. While we may not possess the ability to cure stupidity in others or to eradicate it from the human condition, we do possess the capacity to strive to minimize its influence within our own spheres of action. We can choose to engage, to question, to reflect. We can advocate for systems and structures that promote critical engagement, that encourage nuanced understanding, rather than those that thrive on passive acceptance and unthinking obedience. The challenge posed by human stupidity, when viewed through this existential lens, transcends a simple intellectual puzzle. It is a profound, ongoing call to a more conscious, a more responsible, and ultimately a more authentically meaningful way of navigating our existence. It demands that we look beyond the simplistic narratives, the easy scapegoats, and confront the uncomfortable, often disquieting truth of our shared human capacity for unthinking action and our shared responsibility to rise above it. What are your reflections on this? How have you witnessed the impact of this hidden pandemic of unthinking in your own life, in your community, or on the world stage? The conversation doesn't end here. It begins with our willingness to engage with these vital questions.